All right, gym moms, this video is for you. And I just want to start out by saying, don't hate me for this. So today I want to talk about what your role is as a gymnastics mom. And I'm talking to the moms. If there are any dads here, feel free to listen. It also applies to you. Now, as a parent, we of course want what's best for our children. And what tends to happen when they're in any activity, if you are a mom who wants to be involved in your daughter's life, of course you're going to be there and be at all of her meets and take her to practices and just be as involved as you can. That also often translates into you wanting to find out,
how did practice go? How is that skill coming along? How did you do at your meet? How are you feeling? How did the coach treat you? What happened here? What happened there? What happened here? And
it overwhelms your gymnast. It overwhelms her. So what I am telling you instead is to be a mom, not a gymnastics mom, just be a mom. What gymnasts need is this soft place to land. They need a mom that they can just come talk to when they need to, who isn't so invested in their gymnastics journey. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because as a mom, you're gonna do everything you can to help your daughter get to her dreams and her goals. And so if someone like myself comes along and is like, well, kind of step back a little bit and don't get so involved, you're like, what do you mean? I'm just helping her. And yeah, that is your intention. Unfortunately, in gymnastics, because it's such a high pressure sport, because there are coaches who are always coaching your gymnast, because there's pressure to perform at meets, because there's teammates there who are getting skills and maybe they're not. There's all these outside pressures going on in gymnastics. Not to mention your gymnast is trying to learn ridiculous skills that are so hard that just take a lot of mental work to get. And so there's all this pressure from all over. And as a gym mom, when you pick up your daughter from practice and you're like,
how was practice? Did you get to work that skill? Like let's say they're going through a block. Did you try it? Did you do it? How did it go?
Right? And it's like this Q&A, you're sort of asking your gymnast all these questions and their mind is just ready to explode. And maybe they just don't want to talk about it. They might not. That is okay. As a gym parent, I suggest instead you take a few steps back and you remember your role is to be the parent. Your role is to be the person they can talk to when they need to. But I want to also say that sometimes your gymnast doesn't want to talk to you. And that hurts. That's like, it's like a stab in the heart, right? It's a stab in the heart. Maybe they will want to talk to someone else. Maybe they need to speak to a sports psychology expert or a different coach or a friend or someone else about what's going on. Maybe they don't want to tell you, and you have to be okay with that. I know that's so hard, but you have to be okay with that. You have to be able to step back and say, all right, she's getting what she needs and it's not for me, and that's okay. I know that's hard. Trust me, I have athletes and I know I've had to bite my tongue so many times when I wanted to step in and help or ask or be that person and I wasn't, and it hurts. It's really hard. But that's sometimes what happens. So you just want to make sure that you're not adding extra pressure to your gymnast's life. And again, you don't realize that you're doing it because, you're being a good gym mom. You're doing what you need to do and you're asking questions and you're getting involved. But sometimes you just have to take that step back, like I said, and just let them come to you. Let them come to you. And don't ever ask them. When you pick them up from practice, you can say, how was practice today? But if your gymnast is like, okay, and that's it, then you let that be. You don't keep prying. You don't say, well, how did you do on beam? And how was this? And did you try the new skill? And how was coach? And who was there? You don't do that. You don't do that. They say okay and they don't say anything else. You let it go. And you know what I have found being a parent of athletes is that sometimes they're not ready to talk about what they just went through in practice or a meet or whatever it is that they're doing. They're not ready to talk about it right then and there. But sometimes a few days later, they are, and they will open up and spill the beans to you. They will tell you everything when you're not prying and you're not asking. So sometimes, again, they just need that time to process everything that went on, or even just to decompress and not think about it. And when you're asking all these questions, it's just too much. So your job is to you can ask, how did it go? But if they're not offering information, you are not pulling it out of them. You are not. You are stepping back and saying, okay, honey, that was great, or that's good. I'm glad you had a good practice, and leave it at that. The other thing as a gym mom that you shouldn't do is you shouldn't be a coach. So, and I'm so guilty of this with my kids. When, let's say your daughter has a meet and she, finishes her meet, and then like you're in the car ride home, or you're getting dinner afterwards, or you're home, and you're just like, honey, your beam routine was great, but I noticed like your legs were bent on your back walkover. You should really try to straighten them next time. Or, your vault was good, but it looked like you weren't running so fast. Maybe you should run a little faster, or what happened? Why weren't you running fast? Right? That is me as a parent being a coach. I'm coaching my child. Your gymnast doesn't want another coach. They have enough in the gym. They don't need another person coaching them and giving them tips and telling them what to do. Trust me, as someone who studies sports psychology, and I have kids who are in sports who have gone through mental blocks, and I just want to offer my services up, I have learned that I can't even do that with my own kids, because they don't want to be coached. They don't want to hear it. It's almost like they tune you out when you start to talk about stuff like that. They don't want to hear it. It's just, they want you to be that person who will listen to them when they need you to, but who is not always giving them suggestions and advice and tips. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. So my suggestion to you is to just, again, step back and don't offer advice. If they ask for it, then you certainly can. But if they don't ask for it, don't offer it. And just be that wonderful place for them to come to when they need a listening ear, when they need a hug, when they need just some support that they're asking for. Be there for them. Now, if your gymnast is really struggling, that's when you reach out to a mental toughness coach or a sports psychologist, or someone who, might need to really help them. Maybe they need to talk to someone else other than you. And so there are cases where you do have to refer out. But otherwise, gymnasts can handle a lot of that, on their own. They just need to kind of decompress and process it in their own way, which is different for every gymnast. All right, so those are some tips for you. Again, I know it's hard as a gymnastics mom to not want to step in and help and do everything you can. But trust me, by being that place that they can come to, that warm and loving place that's not critical, that's not giving them tips, it's not coaching them. By being that warm, loving place, you are giving them everything you can give them, and you are helping them to the best of your ability. So I want you to practice that. And if you have been doing it the other way, that's okay, because we all do. We all love our kids and we want to do those things, but just try to step back, take a few steps back and see what happens. All right, I hope that was helpful, and I will see you guys soon.